Okay, we are live, and welcome to another Health Tip Tuesday. Fabulous. The weeks are just flying by, bing, 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 crazy. But I'm really excited to have Nicole back again. I love having you here, Nicole, because I always learn so much good stuff when you're here. It's awesome. And today we're going to talk about gut health, right?
Yes.
Really
But I
important
know
topic.
what I think I know about health.
Excellent. That's great. Yeah. So I know a lot of times when you think about gut health, you just think about digestion, and I know there's a lot more to it than that, and they're finding out more stuff all the time. Why is gut health so important?
Basically, I mean, the limited time that we have good health, we could talk about that forever. But basically, the main reason is I feel it's our second brain.
Mm,
Over 80% of disease can be tied back to gut health. So it's just like taking care of, you know, it's kind of like the hub of our
right.
body. And unfortunately, like the foods and things that are made nowadays, our body doesn't recognize them. And so it doesn't know what to do with them. And a lot of times it's really messing with our microbiome of our gut. And if our gut doesn't have, the healthy bacteria it needs to break down our foods, then our body's kind of like, well, what do we know? And that's when I feel like things start to go sideways.
Right.
You can
So
tell,
what are some and
go
what are
ahead.
some of those types of foods or some of those things that kind of work against
So
us there?
heavy hitters are foods that cause inflammation. Top inflammation causing foods would be processed white sugar,
Mm,
gluten, dairy, soy, GMO corn. A lot of soy and corn now in the US is mostly, I would say, I want to even say 85% of it is genetically modified. When it's genetically modified, our body doesn't even know how to process it. So it
right.
really can take a toll and rip up the gut. Another big thing is, and there's always two sides of the coin, but I feel like another big thing is antibiotics.
Mm,
So if you ever get a cold or the flu and you have to go, to your doctor and get antibiotics, you can take a 5-day course of antibiotics, and that can mess up your gut for 6 months and
yeah.
take your gut to recover. So the main thing I would say is that people need to get on a really good probiotic.
Mm,
Want to make sure it has a prebiotic in it, and so it can survive your stomach acid. A lot of times we're taking probiotics, and if they don't survive our stomach acid, it's not doing you any justice. So
yeah, because they really need to get
when
into like your intestines and stuff, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
there needs to be need to repopulate, and so they need to survive the stomach acid in order to do that. So a lot of people think, that we have good bacteria, we have bad bacteria, but there's also bacteria in our body. Our gut needs good bacteria to break down our foods. If we don't have that, things can stem from that. Quite a few things, leaky gut
Mm,
syndrome, SIBO, you can get over candida. So
hmm.
things like that can stem if your gut is just not working well.
Yeah.
Good foods to other foods, a good probiotic. Other foods would be anything fermented.
Hmm.
So I don't recommend. A lot of people say yogurt. I don't recommend a dairy yogurt that's made from dairy. I would recommend like a coconut yogurt or almond milk,
Yeah.
something. But always check the ingredients. You want to make sure that it doesn't have any other crap in it.
It's interesting that you said that because the earlier you said that inflammation is one of the big problems,
Yes.
and then you're eating this yogurt, which is dairy, which is also
Yes.
inflammatory,
Yeah.
which so it works against you.
Mm-hmm. Well, our bodies
Interesting.
are not, milk is for baby cows.
Yeah, right.
It's not made for us, and our body doesn't, and it can stem to a lot of people that have issues with it. It stems down through your DNA, from your ancestors. I think we talked about this before. If it's not something that your ancestors were eating on a regular basis, it can trickle down generation to generation. And that's why a lot of people have, intolerance to it.
Yeah.
But other people can think they can eat it and it doesn't do anything to me. But a lot of times people don't recognize is that it causes inflammation in our joints. It creates a mucus that can get into our joints. And a lot of people put that off to, oh, I'm getting older, or I'm getting arthritis, joint pain. It's just something they write off to other things. But a lot of times, if you get off dairy, people see a difference in that joint pain.
Great. Awesome. And you were saying earlier about the probiotics and the prebiotics
Mm-hmm.
surviving the stomach. Is there a form that you like in terms of a probiotic? And I guess what I mean is a delivery form. Like, is a capsule better? Is a liquid better?
I believe that it just think it depends. I can't really say I don't. It depends on sourcing and how it is encapsulated. But for the most part, I'd say it should be refrigerated. If it's not refrigerated, it needs to have some kind of it has to be encapsulated some type of way so that the one I use is a Digestive Plus from Arbonne. So, for instance, that comes in a packet. It's a powder, but it's encapsulated, and so it doesn't open up and function. It doesn't start to function until it hits the water.
Right.
So once you pour it in water, you drink it. Not then you leave it sitting there. It doesn't have any. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not effective anymore.
Right. And the nice thing there too, like you said, you don't have to refrigerate that because it's already encapsulated, so they survive until the water, right?
That's why I like it, because you can travel with it. There's not too many that have it. A lot of times when you're buying stuff like that, it's not as effective. And that also has pre and a pro. So the pre and the pro, they help each other survive the stomach acid. So a lot of times if you're just taking a prebiotic, it's not getting what the bottle says that you're really getting, because once it goes through your digestive tract, it's losing a ton of effectiveness.
Yeah. And how do you know, we were talking about kind of like that balance. Clearly antibiotics, they wipe out the good bacteria and the bad bacteria at the same time. And then you're kind of out of balance. How do you know that you're back in balance, or not too far one way or the other, I guess? What sort of things can manifest?
So tons of things can manifest not being in balance. Acne, gosh, there's so many things. Bloating, that's a huge one. If you're constantly bloated all the time, or if you eat something and you get bloated, that's probably a good indication that your gut something's not going right with your gut. Now, on plain devil's advocate, there are some people that can't do a probiotic, depending. Right. So if you're doing a probiotic and you're feeling worse, there's probably another issue that needs to be fixed, which can be like the candida overgrowth. So if you're dealing with something like that, which can also cause bloating, if you're dealing with that, and that you're basically feeding that with a probiotic. So that's something that needs to be taken care of before you start a probiotic, or else you're you're kind of just keeping yourself in that same feeling of being bloated, stomach issues, not being able to use the restroom is a huge one. Everybody we should actually be using the restroom times a day. So I mean, it's good if you're going once, but if you're missing a day, something's a change.
Something's not quite right. Yeah, because we talked, I think you and I talked a little bit about, and you were talking about fermented. We talked a little bit about kombucha, and you were saying that just, you got to be careful not to overdo it because of that same situation, right?
Yeah. It's there's not very many people, but I always talk about it because I am one of those people, and I didn't know I was one of those people. I always try to mention it because sometimes people are like, I'm doing everything right. I don't get it, and that's why, because we just, we think it's good. Not all the time. Something that's supposed to be good for you, it cannot be good for everybody.
Mm.
Every body is different. So you can get a good bones to something, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be needed to be tweaked for certain people. So what may work amazing for one person may be messing another person up. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not good for you. It just means that our bodies are different.
Yeah. So you really have to listen to your body and make
Yes.
sure you react that way.
Yeah. And I think, I would like to mention that, for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me, because I'm like, how are people doing this, changing their eating, their clean eating, and, they feel so amazing and it's everybody. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And you kind of beat yourself up, or you give up because you don't think you're not doing something right. And a lot of times you just have to dig a little deeper, and you have to, and that's why I share what I share, because I feel like my experiences have been so odd that kind of out of the box. And so if people are like, it might, I wish that somebody talked about these things before I did all my digging, because I would have been like, thank God, like somebody's describing exactly the way I'm feeling.
Right.
So if that's the case for somebody, then, I would hope that I could help somebody that's feeling that way,
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's that's really good to know. Like you said, I mean, sometimes you feel that way. It's like, geez, it's working for everybody else. What's wrong with me? And
Exactly.
and it's really just that we're all different. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, eating clean is, and when I say, a lot of people are like, I eat clean, and it's like, so many things can mess us up. So if you're buying meat that's not grass-fed or organic, that can mess up your gut health.
Right.
So you can be eating meat, vegetables, and fruit, but if your things are not organic, that can be messing you up. So there potentially people could be saying, I eat so clean. And really, technically, they are, if you're eating fruits, veggies, and meat. The only thing is unfortunately, the way things are processed here in the U.S., not, I don't know.
You don't always know what you're going to get.
I know what I want to say, but it's not, it's kind of like we're being a little tricked, to be honest.
Yeah.
Unethical for people that aren't exactly. For people that aren't educated in that, and honestly, I don't feel like we should have to be educated. It's sad that nowadays we do have to be educated, and we do have to dig deeper, because we can't trust going to the grocery store and buying food. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's such a fundamental thing.
Yeah. Exactly. You have single moms out there that are working, their butts off, maybe working 2 jobs, 3 jobs to support their, here they're going to the store and thinking they're doing right, trying to feed a kid healthy, and you're being tricked. They don't have time to dig and research and all of that, so it's really sad.
Yeah, it is. And it's, I guess, the thing too, that to go back to there is, when something isn't right and you feel like you're doing everything right, the idea there is just to go one at a time, right? Just try, because it could be just one small thing that you're not aware of.
So that's a great thing, because that was a huge thing for me. That I finally, after being in pain and doing things, there was at a point in time where I had to do process of elimination.
Right.
So here I thought I was taking on all these things, like I mentioned before, I can't do grains and legumes. Brown rice, it's healthy. Yeah, it's healthy, but my body can't process it. So for me, it does cause inflammation, and nuts that aren't sprouted can cause inflammation for me. So nuts are amazing. They're healthy fat. They're great for you. They're great for brain health, and healthy fats are good for your gut health as well. But for me, it was causing it was doing the opposite.
Yeah.
And so same thing with fiber, you know, if somebody is, I can't do a lot of fiber, I can't do a lot of fresh vegetables. And that's another tip for people is if, you know, if a lot of people think the more veggies, the more greens, the better I'm going to feel. And that's not necessarily true. Sometimes people do start to get bloated. Some people can only have one serving, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
would recommend taking a greens powder supplement or chlorella, and you
Mm-hmm.
can get your greens from that way as well. So you are getting what your body needs, but you are not dealing with the bloating and the stomach pain from eating. Another thing is to steam veggies. So don't,
Yeah.
if you're having that issue, don't eat anything raw.
Right. Right. Interesting.
So,
Yeah. Now,
mhm.
and when you steam or cook things, you are cooking out some of the enzymes, right? And that's another reason why that probiotic is so important in terms of just
Yes.
breaking the food down.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. I know we always do such a short amount of time, and I know you have so much more to share. But I really
Well, we
appreciate
might
you
have to
doing
do
that.
gut health part 2.
Let's do that. I like it. Let's do it. We'll do gut health part
Yeah,
2 as our next
I
one.
love that it's short and sweet. You know, I know
Yeah.
it's not a ton of information, but I think that sometimes I love that you keep it to 15 minutes. I think that sometimes a lot of information is overwhelming to people. And
Yeah.
then you don't want to do anything because you're like, you might as well have been speaking a different language to me because I didn't understand anything and it was way too long. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to be taking notes and all of that. So it's like if you can baby steps and take, you know,
Yeah.
tidbits and start, you know, trying one thing at a time might be
Yeah.
helpful for you.
Absolutely. It's easier to digest, which is a good
Mm.
pun. Oh no, it's not a good
Yeah.
pun. But
Yes,
anyway, okay. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. I really appreciate you coming on again. And I
you're
love that
welcome.
idea. Let's do that. We'll do gut health part 2
Yeah, for sure.
next time. All right. Thank you very
All
much.
right.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.